This is the origami fish by Elias Halloran. I wanted to start with this. I made this using a very thin oil-based paint called Rust-Oleum in this case. There are quite a few layers here. What enabled me to make the layers so thin is that I did a wet folding process. So after making the painting the paper, I wet this paper here and there was enough absorption to flatten out. This is another version of my fish. In this case, I was making the origami out of recycled aluminum from aluminum seltzer cans. This was sort of slid and pasted on. Other than that, nothing is outstanding. Here you can see that I actually took the design. I actually took this fish design a little further by painting the aluminum, but what was important here is that I painted the aluminum before I attached it and also before I folded it, which is somewhat evident if you look closely. So this could be a Christmas ornament. This could be made for sale. The materials are aluminum and standard printer paper. Now I want to show some examples of how that design can change. In this case, with this fish, I designed it using a mathematical technique. The grid that was very evident on the last one can be skewed, and by using the mathematics, I got this rhombic shape. And remember that rhombus is the one that has sides equal, all sides equal, but angles unequal. And what I found very interesting is that a lot of gussets formed in this model. That's something that Robert Lang has written about. The paper here is Michael LaFosse's Origamito paper, sandwiched with a layer of tin foil, but otherwise the paper is just drawing paper. So we can see that this design goes a step further. Here I did two things. I changed the design by adding a pleat up top. In this case, I then padded the pleat with copper foil. You can see that the texture here is quite beautiful, and the purpose of it was to look something like Mars, because there's these questions about could there have been life on Mars. So I wanted to make something that encapsulates and resembles it. So I achieved this flat look by actually wetting the paper after I had done all the folds, and then compressing it with some basic kitchen style equipment. Now I want us to move on to my next design, which is a turtle. In some ways, it is an abstract design. This is, again, oil painted paper. This is house paint on a sheet, and then it is wet folded. And it's flaking off here on purpose, and I dulled the paper actually by adding a little bit of cooking oil to the medium, which gave it a longer curing process and has given it a nice dull hue. So this compressibility is really because of the wet folding. So what you're looking at here is my original design, but in the common process of wet folding. Now here an example where the design is really coming to life. This is a handmade paper, a green handmade paper, and I just let the paint flick. I flicked the paint onto the handmade paper, but there are multiple layers here. So if you look inside, I've got kami, and then a layer of tinfoil, and then the handmade paper. So I am calling this a turtle, and I do want to show you that the fins here form a shallow angle. This is a tricky fold, but it is a well-calculated fold. So now, this is the jaw, the lower jaw, the brow, tail, etc. And you can see that there is quite a lot going on with the colors here. So I wanted to keep on going here, so I actually used an Unryu paper, which is a natural handmade paper. I stuck with my same abstract origami design. You can see that it's the same by the fins, the elbow at the fins, shape of the head. This is a copper foil, which I just pasted it on. Now it is the same design. I want to add one thing about this, is that to achieve this top part, I did the well-known square twist fold. The square twist fold. So you can see that I took that one step farther now by actually gilding, Gilding, the surface here. So this is done by first getting the layer of paper folded. Once that's folded, you can use an adhesive to put the yellow painted aluminum foil paper on top of that. And from there, you can do some more adhesive and attach the 24 karat gold foil. Now, it is just a very, very thin layer, but you can see how the appearance of the turtle takes it pretty far. I have this one, which is done on a more sort of scholarly, tricky, visually tricky level. I pre-painted the red in here, and I added some texture here. This is pasted on. The base paper in orange here is called taunt paper. So I like this a lot, and I'm wondering if you can tell me, how does this compare to some of the other ones? Like, do you see anything in the right one which you do not see in the left? So here is a turtle I made. It's the same basic design, but without the extra pleat in the middle. And this system is Lang's turtle texture. The pleats on Lang's Western pond turtle go to this. So you can see there. Please tell me what you think. Do you like this turtle? Here is a model of my Junebug. I'll put this down and I'll show you the next one. This is the original design. You can see that it uses a special paper. The legs of the design are pleated in a very careful way. It all fits onto a level 56 grid. The pleating of the two upper regions here is known as the Elias stretch. So there's one triangle, then it goes to a square. This is only a distance 2, and then we've got a few more squares here. Head, body. This is just folded in. You want to notice that there is a crease here. So I'd like to know from you, how do you think that this one compares to this one? The design is quite similar, it's quite the same, but this one has a little bit of glue, more color. There you go. All right, thank you. Thank you for watching.